Warabi from Modern Warfare 3 takes up our next spot. Warabi is an African warlord bankrolled by Makarov who committed various inhuman acts by taking over parts of Africa to commit genocide on certain tribes. He also smuggled chemical weapons across the border into Europe for Makarov. African lions meet the Urzikistani wolf, Omar the Wolf Suleiman. While he is the leader and supposed founder of Al-Qatala, a terrorist organization in the fictional country of Urzikistan, he fights for a cause that seems just in his mind, since he's pursuing the independence of his country by any means necessary.
I am just a lowly freedom fighter.
Sadly, any means necessary tends to include criminal acts, such as stealing chemical weapons to use against the United States. In the end, he didn't get to see his wish come to fruition, being killed before his country was freed from Russian control. At least he went out with a boom. Next is Roman Barkov. Barkov serves as the main antagonist of the rebooted Modern Warfare game that came out in 2019. He grew up with a reading disability, and the only thing he was good at was cooking. He eventually became a high-ranking soldier and started doing direct attacks into Urzikistan in an attempt to annex the country. Through the entirety of the game, he made himself the new king of Urzikistan and believed that everything he was doing was correct. He thought he was the savior of Russia, and up until his final moments, he believed that he was in the right the entire time. Ghost or Ghost Eliminator. Next up is Gabriel T. Rourke from Call of Duty Ghost. Gabriel fits on this list in a special way, thanks to the fact that he used to be a good guy when he was younger. Along with Elias, he was part of what would eventually become the Ghost program. However, when Elias had left him behind, he was kidnapped by the Federation and brainwashed after months of torture. So that puts his actions in perspective, since while he wanted revenge on Elias, he also got brainwashed, and that means that not everything he did was of his own volition. Sadly, he still did some horrible things, like shooting Elias in front of his sons or blowing up a skyscraper with people inside. He did horrible things, but how many were his fault is really up to debate. From one type of brainwashing to another, here is Salen Koch. Salen Koch is played by Kit Harington and is the main villain of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. He was born on Mars in a section controlled by the Settlement Defense Front and grew up ingesting their propaganda. Throughout his life, he worked for the SDF and eventually ended up as a high-ranking soldier under their employ. He blew up multiple ships as well as a few military bases, and his body count is in the hundreds. However, he does seem more conscious of his actions than Rourke was, even ripping out the oxygen tank of a soldier and telling his men to finish them off without bullets. He even tells Wolf that empathy would get him nowhere, and that due to his lack of empathy, he's the better soldier, and that Wolf would never win. Although he's long dead by the time we play Ghost, we can't forget about Diego Almagro. Diego Almagro was a South American dictator and would eventually form the evil organization known as the Federation, with multiple countries within South America. He managed to do this by forcefully taking over these countries and ruling them with an iron fist, ordering the imprisonment or execution of any US-born citizens within these countries. He's also led to all the main conflicts within the game, so it's not surprising he's this high. He may only be an arms dealer, but next is Imran Zakhaev. Imran is a Russian criminal who's done everything from gun running to nuclear bomb threats. His actions led to most of the events within the Modern Warfare timeline, with his formation of the ultra-nationalist party, giving Khalid the nuclear bomb, hiring Makarov, and of course, being the original mastermind behind World War III. Imran's mentor, Perseus, comes next. Perseus is the main villain of Call of Duty Cold War, the latest in the series, and while he hasn't had much screen time as of yet, we do know a good deal about him. Perseus is a Soviet spy who runs an underground ring of spies, who also use the cover name Perseus. Perseus's whole goal is relatively simple. He wants to undermine and destroy the power that the US holds, to make the Soviet Union the world's only superpower. He's also credited as being the one person to radicalize Imran Zakhaev and make him the terrorist that he is. It's no surprise that the new guy ranks this high. Next is Metz, another SS soldier and the main antagonist of Call of Duty World War II. He's the director of a German labor camp where he abuses prisoners. In the end, he's killed while actively executing prisoners in the woods, guilty of some of the worst crimes against humanity. Although many of the other villains on the list have higher death counts, the fact that Metz committed these acts so personally makes him especially vile. And though he's a fictional character, the fact that people like him existed in somewhat recent history is terrifying.